Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday. It's always hard for me to decide what day it is. It is Wednesday, and I just got home from watching the 49ers' first practice since they cut down to 53. And we spoke to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, and there were a lot of different things brought up, including Jauan Jennings and the situation. And while we wait for people to kind of load up on here and figure out what's going on, that I'm doing a live here. We'll kind of discuss that. All right. So let's see here. All right. How's it going, everybody? Hello. 49ers had their first practice today after the cut down to 53. There were some players that weren't there, but we also talked to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan first. And obviously the first big topic was Jauan Jennings. So they still have not gotten things figured out. And John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan were asked very specifically, is it the calf injury? Is it the contract? What is it? Is there progress? And he said, you don't image a guy daily. So something that happened a little bit ago. And if it doesn't get better soon, I'm sure we'll be doing more of that. So there has not been imaging recently. Jauan's working through his calf issue, making progress. We're kind of like everyone else, hopeful, but not sure on week one. So we'll proceed as such. We're working to get the best mix out there. We added a piece today in Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and thrilled to have him be a part of it. And, we move forward. That's what they said. So they are not sure whether Jauan Jennings is going to suit up for week one or not. And I asked John Lynch, I said, is it worse than you thought it was going to be? And he said, yeah, calves take a long time. That's one thing with that injury. I've played with guys who they can take a while. So Eric Branch asked, is it more than just the calf injury? Is it just his lack of desire to play? Are you convinced that when he's healthy, he's going to play? And John Lynch said, well, there's a lot that goes into that. Everybody has a training camp. Everyone's out there. That's a perfect world. But he's been putting in work on the side. We have not seen it, by the way. And you'll have to make that judgment when the time comes. Other thing is, both things can be true. He wants a new contract and he got his calf hurt. So I think people want to assume one or the other, but both things can be true. So that's kind of where we are at. It's, no one knows what's going on with Jauan Jennings except for really Jauan Jennings. How does that calf feel? I'm sure Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch know a lot more than we do. They kind of didn't want to talk about it too much. And they said, hey, we're just going to leave it at that. They did bring up a few things, as much as they could. Yes, he did ask for a trade, but this was a while back. And someone else asked, did he rescind that desire to be traded? And John Lynch kind of got a little bit more stern and said, hey, we're not talking about that now. We've moved past it. And then, did you move past it or did you rescind the trade offer? And he said, we're just not going to talk about it anymore. We're going to leave it at that. He asked for a trade a while back and we've moved past it. So that's where we stand with Jauan Jennings. Could be ready for week one, could not be ready for week one. We're not sure. We haven't seen him on the practice field. It's been a long time since he's been on the practice field. Will he be, if he's healthy, will he be ready to step in week one and actually play and participate in a game? I don't know. Only one who really knows that is Jauan Jennings. He's the one who can feel his calf and knows whether or not it's ready or not. So it's less dramatic than last year with Brandon Ayuk because obviously Brandon Ayuk was out on the field all the time. Now everything was news, whether he said hi to John Lynch, whether he said hi to Kyle Shanahan, all of that stuff. So, not sure. Did they mention Buckner's post that he would like to return? I'm sure they would love to have DeForest Buckner, but they just don't have enough money to pay him for all the players that they've paid. I mean, if he wanted to take a league minimum, for how many years he has of service, I mean, maybe, but there's no way. DeForest Buckner is an amazing player, and he deserves a ton of money. And as much as he would love to come back to the Bay Area, I think, it is what it is, and I don't think they can afford to pay him. They would love to have him, of course. I mean, DeForest Buckner, they should never have traded DeForest Buckner. I just He was the guy who should have been one of the first pillars of the defense, first pillars of the locker room. Now they've got good ones now, like Fred Warner is a pillar. DeForest Buckner is kind of like what Fred Warner is, but for a defensive lineman. I think Eric Armstead is a great player, but if you're looking at a guy who is completely team oriented and does everything for the team, it is DeForest Buckner. I think even Eric Armstead would say, yeah, DeForest Buckner is that guy. Nick Bosa, I think, is learning how to be a better leader. He told us during, training camp that he said, hey, all I've been doing is worrying about getting myself better. And now I realize that I have to be the leader in the room. So it's a new thing for Nick Bosa, and I think he's kind of growing into it, and it's getting better. But it's, not by any means a finished product, but we'll see. So, yes, please hit the like button. Would appreciate it. Hello from Holland, by the way. So yes, I don't know anything about DeForest Buckner. What do you think about the defensive tackle? I don't know a whole lot about him, but obviously they think he's better than Evan Anderson. So they released Evan Anderson, kind of the same mold, that defensive tackle. I think they had to keep Evan Anderson on the roster because they need that defensive tackle, because they don't know whether Alfred Collins is going to be ready. They don't know whether CJ West is going to be ready, because both those guys missed a lot of training camp. Obviously, Alfred Collins has been around for training camp mostly, missed the whole previous offseason. And what I've heard from behind the scenes is that because there's a weight clause in his contract, that he lost a bit of weight and lost some of his strength. So now he's getting back into shape, putting weight back on, muscle weight, and getting stronger. So I think, they need that from Alfred Collins. I don't think Alfred Collins might not be ready for week 1, because they can only have 48 players active on game day. So there's going to be inactives, and I don't know if Alfred Collins is going to be completely ready. So I think Michael Williams will be, and I'm not sure whether CJ West will be or not. So, they are going to have to rely on these guys who have more experience, like Jordan Elliott, Sam Okwanu. If Yetur Gross-Matos can be ready for week 1, I think that's a key to the defense being much better. But I think, we're obviously we're getting into a lot of looking forward, but I don't know if you guys have any more questions about Jauan Jennings. I think that there is something to be said for him wanting more money, but I also think that he is not healthy. So I think it's a combination. So I haven't, of the new players, let me go through the practice list. Okay. So we saw practice today. It's different practice now. They are in full season mode, regular season mode. So we only get to watch 20 minutes of practice, only 20 minutes of practice. Oh, I know what I was going to say about Jauan Jennings. Someone else said that his contract is heavily incentive laden this year, and it is for game day bonuses, but not extremely. So John Lynch was asked about those bonuses and benchmarks for Jauan Jennings to make a lot of money this year. Those were actually for last year. So there are 2 different websites that a lot of us use to look at contracts and structures, and it's not always completely accurate. So there's one contract site that we all look at, and it's called Spot Track, and it shows Jauan Jennings having all of these incentives for this year. But apparently John Lynch said a lot of those incentives were from last year. This year, he just has game day bonuses. So he's gotten paid most of his money, and this is his last year of being guaranteed money. So every game that he misses, he loses money, but it's not a ton of money. It's a good amount. For you and me, it would be a lot of money. But in the grand scheme of a football player, it's not as much money. He's gotten most of the money from his contract already. So I know someone is out there saying that he is losing a ton of money from not being on the field this year, so they should put him on IR to punish him for his behavior. It's not going to happen. It just hurts the 49ers. So they want to make sure that if he's healthy, he can be out there. If they put him on IR, he's gone for 4 games for sure. They're not going to use one of those spots because there's very few of them that are IR to return. So that's not going to happen. So just want to clarify that Jauan Jennings incentives were mostly last year, but yes, he gets an extra paycheck every game that he is active for. So just want to say, I don't necessarily think it's Drew Rosenhaus. I don't know who, but it could be. It could be partially Drew Rosenhaus. He is a very tough negotiator. I know it's, kind of the wide receiver mentality. Jauan Jennings wants to get paid. So yeah, he wanted a trade a long time ago and it didn't happen, obviously. And John Lynch said nothing about it being rescinded, but he said, we've moved past it. So, all right. What set Emmanuel Sanders apart from the other free agent trades? I don't know what I'm guessing. Emmanuel Sanders was an ultimate pro. Emmanuel Sanders was a guy who changed the wide receiver room. And remember at the time, though, Deebo Samuel was really young. Brandon Ayuk was really young. So actually, I don't think Brandon Ayuk was there yet. He was there for a little bit of it. But he was a guy who changed the wide receivers room because there was just no veteran presence in there. And now there is Russell Gage Jr., who's going to be brought back, is what they said. Ricky Pearsall, I wouldn't say he's quite the veteran yet. Apparently they say everybody's a rookie until their second game or their, first game of their second season. So technically Ricky Pearsall is still a rookie until he plays one snap in week 1. But Demarcus Robinson is a good vet. Jauan Jennings really is a vet also. Brendan Ayuk has been around. So those guys, can really change it. But Emmanuel Sanders is a guy who does not quit in practice. He's a worker. And so that mentality is not necessarily something that's evident in a lot of wide receivers and a lot of wide receivers rooms. It stands out. So Emmanuel Sanders is a guy who does not take a rep off ever. And I know you guys have watched games where the ball's not coming to a wide receiver's side. And so they kind of don't go 100%. Emmanuel Sanders was never like that. And I think you can watch his film and you can watch Emmanuel Sanders and he would not take a rep off, not in practice, not in a game if it wasn't coming to him. And really how Kyle Shanahan's offense works is if everybody does their part to 100%, they're going to score touchdowns. So if a wide receiver misses a block, if a running back misses a chip, it really kind of messes it up. So it's completely timing based. So if a guy doesn't chip when he's supposed to, or chips too early, or tries to go too late, it throws the timing of the whole thing off. So it is absolutely timing based. And I think with Emmanuel Sanders, what he's able to do was to really show guys like Deebo Samuel, who, was a good player in college, but I think there's such a huge jump from being a college wide receiver to an NFL wide receiver. So Emmanuel Sanders was a guy who really could show them how to be a professional, how to take care of their bodies, how to, study, watch film, all of that. Emmanuel Sanders is someone who I really admire, and not just because of his play, but because how I watched him interact in the locker room, interact with the other players, the younger players. And this is the thing. Now the 49ers have a young roster. And so all of this, the veterans, and, there's obviously guys who do this already. It's George Kittle, it's Fred Warner, it's Trent Williams. They're going to need to take these guys under their wings. And Nick Bosa is learning how to do it. Deommodore Lenoir is learning how to do it. Taking the young guys underneath their wing and really showing them how to get it done. I mean, I know Dominic Pooney didn't necessarily take care of his body last year. He's never, when you're 20 years old, your body's like a rubber band. So he came into the NFL and thought, I haven't done any of that recovery stuff before. I'm fine. Well, it's different in the NFL, especially when you start playing 17 games and, you go from training your body for the combine to pro day to, all of that stuff. And then all of a sudden you have to go to minicamp and training camp. And Dominic Mooney gave himself a leg up because he took the entire off season to study all the film and listen to all of Chris Forster's meetings and, stuff that, what I've found out that, Chase Lucas has done, that Marquise Siegel has done. Like, so Nick Martin did that. So these young guys who take those 40 days away and really study all of the film, watch what they need to do, it helps. And it gives them a leg up. And guys that, miss time, like Michael Williams, CJ West, Alfred Collins, it's harder for them to catch up. So that's why Kyle Shanahan says, and you can see it. But I mean, I've listened to him say this year after year after year. Guys that miss training camp, mini camp, OTAs, it's hard for them to catch up and it's hard for them to be ready for week 1. So that's where, they went with 11 defensive linemen. John Lynch, I asked him, I'm like, you had 17 linemen last year. This year you have 21. Well, is it a philosophy change? What is it? And he said, we just like the group. I mean, they went with 5 wide receivers. There's 2 healthy wide receivers on the 53. I mean, there will be more because Marquez Valdez-Scantling will be there. But yeah, just kind of crazy. So let me look at some of these questions now. So that's my tirade on Emmanuel Sanders. Just such a pro. No, I don't think that people forgot that the trade was mentioned a while ago. It was just asking if he still wanted it or whether it was rescinded. So that's, I think, what the question was. And again, it could be somewhat on his agent, somewhat on him. But I mean, honestly, part of the issue is that they just gave him a deal last year. So they gave him a deal last year. It's a 2-year deal. This is the last year of his guaranteed money. He probably should have fought for a 3-year deal. Because now it's only 1 year left. And I'm all for players getting as much money as fast as they can, as much as they can, because their careers are so short. Now, he did that 2-year deal and didn't know that he was going to be the number 1 receiver on the team also. So there are some factors that changed. Signed a 2-year deal, pretty good deal, way more money than he's made before. But then Brandon Ayuk goes out. Deebo Samuel doesn't have a great season. So now Christian McCaffrey's hurt. Jauan Jennings was the guy. So Jauan ended up 975 yards, was the top wideout. George Kittle was the top receiver. But, that changed what he probably could demand. And so he's demanding more. So it's kind of the circumstances, I think. Let's see. Thanks, Ben. Hurt and confused about the Jauan situation. Oh, I mean, don't be hurt. I mean, it's just the business part of it. And I understand guys wanting to get more money because, one play could knock him out for the rest of his life. So I don't think it's Lynch's fault for not giving him a 4-year deal. Look at who they had to pay. They had to pay Brock Purdy this year. They paid George Kittle. They paid Fred Warner. So, I mean, they're dishing out money and they can't pay everybody. So, it's maybe Jauan and his agent's fault for not fighting for a 3-year deal last year and maybe a little less money per year. Just saying. Let's see. All right. I keep reading that. Joseph in the kicking competition, but did the media actually get to see every kick they attend? Okay, so Harry, and funny handle. We did not see every kick they did because practices, they do some special teams before, they do walkthrough, but every kick during training camp, yes, we saw them. So I honestly think that Jake Moody, they didn't do him any favors last year. They kind of screwed him over. They did not even put Jake Moody on IR last year. He was out for 4 games and then he was back. So week 5, he had the injury. He was out 6, 7, 8, 9. 4 weeks he was out, high ankle sprain. Now, his high ankle sprain was pretty bad. When I talked to Jake Moody in the locker room, every time I would see him, I'm like, how's the ankle? He's like, yeah, I can still feel it. And it's his kicking foot. So you cannot tell me that that doesn't affect his kicks. He said it didn't. I think that's kind of a lie, white lie. But I literally asked him every time I saw him in the locker room, how's the ankle feeling? Because I've had high ankle sprains and they suck. I had one, it's from 2 months ago, and I can still feel it. And sometimes when I walk, I can feel it. I couldn't kick a football right now. I'm older, obviously, but there's no way. So for him to say that, I think he was trying to be a good guy, and he was young, and he's trying to prove that he belongs. And so John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan say, hey, can you kick? Of course, you're going to say, yeah, I can do it. Well, he shouldn't have been. He should have been put on IR. And they probably should have kept another kicker last year, because he came back, and that week 10 game, he missed 3 of his 6 field goals. So you can't tell me it wasn't affecting him. And then he misses 50% of his field goals, and then it screws him up in the head. So I honestly think John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are trying to do him a solid right now, because they screwed him over last year and put him out there too early. And they kept saying that. They've said it throughout the offseason. We put him out there too early. He probably was too injured. We shouldn't have done that. And so now what are they doing? They're trying to make up for it. That's just I don't know that, but I'm just saying it would make sense, wouldn't it? I would think so. So Greg Joseph, they were probably about even. I think for all the kicks that we saw, they were about even. They both missed the same amount. Some days it would be Jake Moody missing. Some days it would be Greg Joseph missing. There was one day where Jake, I think, missed 2. And then, I think Greg Joseph missed 1 on 2 different days. So I don't know. I think the leash is short. I think that if, Jake Moody causes them to lose a game or 2, then maybe they make moves. But I really think they're trying to give him a chance, because it's kind of their fault. I mean, he could have also said, hey, I can't do it. My ankle doesn't feel good. There's no way I'm going to be able to kick accurately. I mean, also, the first week he comes back, he's kicking 6 field goals. So that did not do his ankle any favors. Very excited to see Pearsall and Watkins get reps before Ayuk returns. Pearsall has been great. He is that connection with Brock Purdy, and their chemistry is really, really good, especially because they did all that off-season work. Jordan Watkins is not back on the field yet. So here's the absences from today. And again, we only watch 20 minutes of practice now. We don't get to see any team drills. I have told so many people I would give my phone up. I would give my notebook up. Just let me watch practice. But no, we're not allowed to. Apparently Mike Nolan was the last one to let reporters watch practice from start to beginning for the entire season. Obviously, there's more phones now and a lot of Spygate stuff and people tweeting and all that stuff. So they don't allow that anymore. And we only get to watch them stretching and doing individual drills. So 20 minutes, and that's all we get from now until next year's training camp or mini camp. All right, so absences at practice today: Jennings, Jordan Watkins, Dominic Pooney, Kalia Davis. I did ask about him because he was out on Monday as well, and they said they don't think it's anything serious. We talked to Robert Saleh tomorrow, so we don't get to talk to Kyle Shanahan again until next week. So Kalia Davis, Yitro Gross-Matos. Now, he has been activated from the PUP. He is on the active 53, but they're thinking he's going to come back to practice next week. And then the new guy, Jordan Jefferson. So he is not in the building yet. Also, Russell Gage is going to come back to the 53. I don't know who they're going to release or waive because of that. And then Marquez Valdez-Scantling was not in the building yet either. So 2 wide receivers coming because they are unsure about Jennings, but Jordan Watkins was getting closer. I saw him on the side field kind of stomping on the ground. So I'm sure testing his ankles. He had a high ankle sprain, but when I saw him in Vegas, he wasn't wearing anything on that knee or ankle. He wasn't on a knee scooter. He didn't have any wrap around his ankles. So I think he's pretty close. Jordan James was out on the field today. So we saw Jordan James, we saw Upton Stout. So good news. Some players are returning. I know everybody was freaking out. There were so many injuries. There are quite a few guys nicked up, but it's not season enders. So Upton Stout is back. Jordan James, pinky splint. Remember I told you he had a little pinky splint during the game last week. He's back wearing gloves. So I don't know if he has any wraps. I would think some sort of protective something on it. Let's see. Kicking competition was a setup. Well, I don't know. I mean, I really do think they're trying to do him a solid because they screwed him over. Let's see. Oh, thanks, Ella, for tweeting it. Tweeting the link. Rams can't even keep Cooper up after he wins. I don't know. Well, that's the thing. That's the business. Guys get older and they aren't as productive as they were before, and they've got Puka Nacua. So, they move on. Let's see. Kyle's going to have to be more aggressive on fourth downs. Yeah, I mean, that could be a thing. Let's see. Oops. For some reason, it scrolled all the way down. Let's see. Our most suspect department is, I think the nutrition and health department is fine. It's just, when guys come back from injury, it's just tough to, when they go from not running to running. That's why guys have to take care of themselves during the 40 days away. When they come back for training camp, they have to hit the ground running. And if they haven't been training the way they're supposed to, it does affect them. Let's see. I know he missed the extra point in the Super Bowl. Yes, I know. For Moody to get injured in week 1. Let's see. What else? Jake is going to bounce back. I mean, they would hope. I would think the ankle is much better now, so I would think so. Let's see. I mean, they could. Big Rick says the only way Joseph was equal, and if someone was better, yeah. I mean, if they need to, Greg Joseph is a vet. The thing about Greg Joseph is he's been around forever, so he's not going to have those crazy hiccups when, or like mental breakdown because he's been doing it for so long. I think that's part of Jake Moody's thing. He's been, he's had his ups and downs, and I think it affects him mentally. I honestly think he should see a sports psychiatrist. Yes, Dolomite, Cal should be more aggressive on fourth down so they don't have to kick. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Lulu's, he's an older dude, so Joseph is a little bit more consistent. Heard Pooney, Uterus out, and Jordan James will be ready for week 1. They could be. So that's what they hope. That's what they said to us today. But Dieter Gross-Matos was supposed to come back 2 weeks ago. So he is going to come back and practice next week. And Stat was on the field today. Jordan James on the field today. So, yep. Hopefully they'll be back by week 1. Jordan James probably not going to be needed out there, I would think. So I don't think he'll be active on the first game. If it's Christian McCaffrey, Brian Robinson, and Isaac Orendo, Jordan James can be healthy, but they can, take it easy on him. Jordan Watkins is healing up. Yes. Let's see. Do you have any updates on the point returner? Yes, they put Thomas Morstead back on the 53. And so Jacob Cowing went on IR. So that's how that happened. So I think to not have to do or to be able to do the IR to return, they had to do it after he was on the 53. So they told Thomas Morstead, hey, we're going to release you, but just hang out. We're going to bring you back. So they could keep Jacob Cowing, because if they let Jacob Cowing, if they released him or waived him, he'd have to be subject to waivers because he's younger. He'd be snapped up by another team. So keep Jacob Cowing. Is all this finagling with the 53. So they keep Jacob Cowing on the 53 and then release Thomas Morstead. And then today put Jacob Cowing on IR, bring Thomas Morstead back. I'm interested to see who is going to be released or waived for Russell Gage coming back. So I don't know who. I was taking roll and I was like, who's missing? Is someone already missing? Not yet. So everyone is accounted for. Obviously we didn't see Kalia Davis, but he's definitely on the team. We didn't see Uterus Gross-Matos or Jordan Jefferson, who's new. And other than that, it's just Jauan, Jennings, and Jordan Watkins. So I don't know who they're going to waive or release for Russell Gage Jr. to come back. It's kind of interesting mystery. Let's see. Is the practice squad fully set? No. So there are practice squad right now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 guys. So 16 is what they can have. Robbie Chosen, who's now wearing number 7, Eli Apple, Derek Canteen, Jalen Graham, Sebastian Valdez, the Hulk is back. Travis Gibson, who had a really good third preseason game, had the most pressures, 6, I believe. Curtis Robinson, we all love Curtis Robinson, everything he's been through, and he's the Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate. Nick Zickel is back on the practice squad. Drake Nugent, William Bradley King, Braden Willis, who's now wearing 82, Malik Turner, who's now wearing 84, and Junior Bergen, 86 still. The other numbers, if you've missed it when you came in, it is Brian Robinson is now wearing number 3, and Sky Moore is now wearing number 9. No one is wearing number 6. And Drew Moss is now wearing 65. So those are the new numbers for the active 53. Tariq Owens was not claimed, and the 49ers did not bring him back. So maybe at some point they do. We have any updates on the 49ers punter? So I did that. Practice squad plus that. There you go. If the team underperforms and doesn't make the playoffs, could you see Jed moving on from the head coach? I don't think so. I mean, when I've personally had conversations with, excuse me, I need to adjust. When I've personally had conversations with Jed York, and I do when we have these meetings, he's like, who would you get that's better? Name a coach that's better. So, I mean, I think that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are one of the best pairings in the NFL, because there are other teams where the GM just picks the players that they want and says, yep, you fit them in your system. So for the GM and the head coach to be in lockstep to make sure that they have the players that'll fit in the system, that's not every team. A lot of times it's a GM with his ego saying, hey, I want to get all these different players. Oh, let's look at Trent Baalke. Oh, let me get a guy who's a bargain deal, who's an ACL, but once he gets his ACL fixed, he's fine. Or he's got big, long arms and big hands. I mean, that was Trent Baalke. It didn't matter whether it was going to fit into the coach's system or not, but John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have, this whole collective opinion on how they draft, and that's why they've had good draft classes lately. Jordan Jefferson has that dog in him. He always puts a lot of violence and intensity. Can't wait to see him out there week on. Yeah, I'm excited to see him at practice too. We haven't yet. Let's see. Yeah, so I talked about Tariq Owens. Let's see. Mordecai and Bradley, they're not on season-ending IR. So this is what happens. They go on IR reserve, as they are released IR. And then if they pass waivers, then they revert back to IR on the team. So Tanner Mordecai, Carter Bradley, they could get waived. So they waived injured. Now another team, if they think they need a quarterback, can go pick that player up, and then they're on IR on that team. But no one picked up Carter Bradley or Tanner Mordecai, so now they were subject to waivers. Now they go back to the 49ers IR list. So this is the IR list here. Tanner Mordecai, Carter Bradley, Jacob Cowing, Trey Brown, Patrick Taylor Jr., Trey Tomlinson, Jacob Robinson, broken forearm, Teron Jackson, Isaiah Prince, Trent Taylor, and Kevin Givens. Kevin Givens, I think, is Kevin Givens and Jacob Cowing are the guys who are going to come back. Pleasance, yeah, right, backup right tackle. Let's see, his wide receivers are just filler by his Pearsall. Yep, I think Pearsall is going to have a really good year. Moss is a backup guard. Yes. Let's see. I was just surprised Moss beat out Nick Zickel, but obviously there were probably some people that maybe would have taken Drew Moss. He was undrafted free agent though, so maybe they figured he would have gotten poached and Nick Zickel wouldn't. There's a lot of scheming in regards to the 53. Week 1 around by the Kyle Johnson. Yep. The younger fans think a good front office is grows on trees. Yeah, a good front office does not grow on trees. Collins has been practicing. He's been practicing this whole training camp. CJ West was back Monday. He was back today as well. Hello, welcome, Adam. Love to have new people here. Robinson Jr. move, in my opinion, is the key. With the wide receiver position being what it is, with them having so many injuries, they need guys like Luke Farrell, who's going to block so that George Kittle can be a receiver. I think George Kittle is going to have a huge year. I just had my fantasy draft, which is why I'm doing this late. I was such a homer. I drafted Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle because I know those two guys are set up for success. Without a number one, like Brady Pearsall's really the number one, but he hasn't really been a number one yet. So I'm going to say that still George Kittle is going to be the top receiver on the team. Christian McCaffrey is going to be another guy who's really close to 1,000 yards receiving. So those two guys, if you are playing fantasy, they are guys to consider. I also picked up the Denver Broncos defense because that defense looks really good. I know, who did I have for? I can't remember who I had for the rest of my team. It's like go back to it. But Kittle, McCaffrey. I mean, those are guys, and their bye week isn't until week 14, so far away. But I think that's going to be good for them. Fantasy wise, let's see. How do you feel about Kyle making every call? Because I've seen when others call plays, I don't necessarily think it's better when someone else calls plays. Other people have only called plays during the preseason, and it's been okay, but like it's hard though. It's hard to say. Preseason, it's not the starting offensive line. So the run game was honestly awful. They could not run the ball at all during the preseason because George Kittle wasn't out there. Trent Williams wasn't out there. Brendel was out there a little bit. Dominic Puni wasn't out there. So you had no offensive line. You had no blocking tight ends. Luke Farrell was out there a little bit. But honestly, you can't expect the run game to be good when the starting offensive linemen aren't out there or George Kittle's not out there. So, Did Mac practice? Yes, he did. They were on the far field, so I didn't get a really close look at Mac. But when I saw him walking out of the stadium on Saturday, he looked fine. I think he'll be fine. And again, they're going to pick up another quarterback. And I guess John Lynch said he's en route. So, let's see here. So they are adding a quarterback. It is Adrian Martinez. He's from the Jets. He will be, they didn't want to tell us because he was en route, but let's see. When Kyle Shanahan is his bag, he is really, really good. But it also has to be the players executing what he's asking for. All right. If you guys any last questions, let me know. I'm going on 40 minutes and I'm ready to go to bed. It's been a long day. I think there's going to be a lot more kind of moves here and there. Obviously, someone has to be waived for Russell Gage Jr. to come back. Marquez Valdez-Scantling should be there tomorrow. Jordan Jefferson should be there tomorrow. So I did just drop a video in a short video, and it is the huddle, and then Nick Bosa and Micah Williams running to the defensive line station, and they are kind of messing with each other, and basically they kind of race over to where the defensive line does their drills. So, he's taken over that leadership role. So it's good to see. Please subscribe. Love to see that a bunch of you are in here watching and listening. I love having these conversations. So please watch all the videos and tell your friends and and also we're going to do 49ers Now tomorrow. So 49ers Now is the live streaming show. It'll be, I think it's Bonte, me, and Matt Mayoko tomorrow at 2:30. So we're going to stream that tomorrow. Definitely watch, and we'll give you all the information of what's happening on the practice field tomorrow. All right. Hope you guys are having a great evening, and I will talk to you soon. And don't believe everything all those other guys say.